Hey guys, my name is Umo and welcome to University of Patterson Drafting. So this weekend we officially hit the 1000 subscribers mark and I am super happy about that. I'm so thankful to God and I'm so thankful to everyone who has subscribed thus far. If you haven't subscribed, please pause right now and endeavor to subscribe. Thank you. So I am going to be drafting the pattern for this dress. It is a tube dress with a yoke with leg of mutant sleeves. I am also going to be drafting a second pattern for a second dress for her, and I'm going to be using this one pattern. I'm going to be manipulating one pattern to create both styles. So this is the second style, same thing. It's actually a tube dress with a yoke and then this drum sleeves. So I am going to be drafting one pattern and manipulating it for both designs. Okay, so first off, I started by marking out all my vertical measurements. So my shoulder to bust point, my shoulder to underbust, shoulder to bust point is 11.5, shoulder to underbust is 15 inches, and then the shoulder to the waist is shoulder to her navel is 21 inches. So I'm going to be using 18 inches for her half length. Okay, so I am going to be ruling out all my vertical lines. Rule out all the vertical lines. And then for the half length line or natural waistline, I'm going to be ruling out just that of the front. So next thing now, I'm marking my bust span. Bust span is the distance between both nipples divided by 2. And then also I am going to be drawing out the line for where the tube is actually going to start from. So this is 5 inches. I am still going to drop it, but I usually start with 5 inches for every tube that I draw. So draw out your bust span line from your bust point to your natural waistline or to the half length line. Okay, so I flipped my camera so everything is clearer. So again, this is basically my shoulder to the top of my tube, shoulder to bust point, shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waist. This is my bust span line again. And I am going ahead to mark 6 inches on the tube line where the tube is going to start from, and I'm going to connect that to the bust span line with my French curve. So can you see that from the bust point, connect that to that place. I flipped the camera so that everything is clearer so you can see it from, you're not confused. So next thing I'm going to do is to mark the dots at that tube line. So before I do that, I'll draw out my armhole box. My shoulder is 16 inches divided by 2, that's 8 inches. So that's what you can see me marking. The armhole depth is 9 inches. So that's what you can see me marking. And I'm going to go ahead and draw out my armhole box. So draw out your armhole box. So that you can create the dart. You know that there's always a dart at that the where the tube starts from, that line. Do you understand? You create the dart so that it will be tight at that point. So my dart is 3.5 inches. For a UK size, maybe 8 and 10, you can use 3 inches. So I'm marking my bust dent. Please guys, note that your bust dent is your bust minus your under bust divided by 4. So mine has given me 1.75 inches. So that's what you can see me marking, and I'm using my French curve to connect that back to the bust point. Can you see that? So you can actually see that everything is already forming. So remember that guys, bust minus under bust divided by 4, that's your bust dent. So now I am connecting from the bust point to the dart at the beginning of our tube. Can you see? So you can see that the bust has formed well. You can see how nicely looking it is. So at that natural waistline, I'm marking 1.25 inches. And please note that whenever you have a curve is usually longer than a straight line. So see what we have here, 3.5 inches. If I try to measure what we have on the curved line, can you see it's about 4 inches. So I'm marking that 3.5 inches because we're going to be joining this center front panel and the side panel, so everything has to be equal. So I've raised that line, can you see? And from that point I'm connecting it back to the 1/4 inches that I marked. So I'm also going to mark the dart on the other side of the bust span line, which is 1/4 inch, and I'll just connect that to the bust point. You know that this is really easy, guys, so just pay attention and you will get it. So I'm going to drop that tube line. From the picture you can see that the tube should not start as high as 5 inches, so I'm dropping it to 6 inches. Do you get? I've dropped it to 6 inches. So we just used 5 inches because that's the starting point. Do you understand? Start at 5 inches, then drop it to whatever you want, whether 8, 9, you know, whatever you want. It shouldn't be as steep as 9 anyways. So I have dropped it to 6 inches, and this is what it is looking like. So now I am going to measure what we have here, which is 5.5 inches. Can you see that, guys? And measure what we have on the other side. Like, it's so important to measure everything because it must rhyme since we're joining both panels together. So I'm going to mark where 5.5 inches stops, and that is where the arm side is going to be. That's where my armhole is going to start from. Please also note that, guys, you have to do the same thing at this under bust to the natural waistline. I did not remember to do it in this picture. So also I'm creating my sweetheart neckline, so I went down by 1 inch and I'm connecting that back to the bust span line. So I'm just creating a much more curved line so that it's not too slanted and straight. So I'm going ahead to mark my circumference measurement, which is my bust divided by 4, and then I'm adding my 1 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do the same thing at the underbust, but at the underbust when I'm marking it, so for example, I think the underbust is 36 inches or so. So measure to the first in that line. Do you understand? Move your tape rule, and then from the second that line start to measure again. So this is 1 inch. So also do the same thing. I'll be doing the same thing on the natural waistline. So note that natural waist is about 35 inches. So I'll measure to the first line. Can you see that, guys? That's 4.25 inches. Move your tape rule to the next line. Can you see? From that 4.25 inches, measure your 8.5 inches. Can you see? And then mark your 1 inch seam allowance. Can you see that? Because those lines there, those 1, 2, 3 lines are darts. So you shouldn't include that in the measurements, guys. So one thing I forgot to do was to raise this line up. Okay, so exclude that. I'm drawing out my armhole. So can you see from that 5.5 inches is where I start to draw my armhole, and I connected that to the side seam. So I hope this is clear. So what I was trying to say at that point was that when you measure this underbust to your natural waistline, for the first dart line, and then you measure it for the second dart line, measure it and ensure that they are equal. If not, raise the side seam panel, raise that line by the amount of the excess. Do you understand? So now I'm going ahead to draw the pattern for the back, and this is my center back line that you can see me drawing. I'm drawing my center back line here. So before I do that, I am going to be imputing my side dart. So my side dart is 1.25 inches. Can you see me measuring 1.25 inches from the underbust line? And I'm going to just use a diagonal line to connect that to the bust point. Can you see that, guys? So I've created a side dart. So now note that that side dart now was 1.25 inches. So this means that we're going to reduce the back by that 1.25 inches. Do you understand that? So shoulders for the back, the shoulder to the bust point, shoulder to the underbust, and then shoulder to the underbust will be the same as the front, but the back will be stopping at 16.5 inches instead of 18 inches. Do you understand where the front stopped at? Because we subtracted that one 1 1/4 to 1.5 inches. Do you understand that we used to create the side dart in front? Do you understand? The essence is so that at the side seam, both the front and the back will still line. Do you understand? If not, if we make it the same length, it means that the back will be longer. So I'm drawing out my bust span line for the back, same 4.5 inches that we used in front, and then at this 5 inches line, I'm marking 5.5 inches. You know, for the front we marked 6 inches, so for this we're going to be doing 5.5 inches. So this is 5.5 inches. So I'm going to also mark the shoulder width. This is which is 16 inches divided by 2, that's 8 inches, and also the armhole depth, which is 9 inches, guys. So that's what you can see me marking. I'm shifting my paper so you can see it clearly. Okay, so I'm drawing out my armhole box for my back. So I'm creating a dart at that back, which is my dart at the back is 1 inch, as against the front that was 3 inches. So on both sides of that bust span line, I've marked 1/4 of an inch. I see that 1/4 of an inch and then 1/4 of an inch. So the back is just pretty easy. Nothing complex about the back. So the same way we did for the front, from the bust point line, connect to the top of the tube. Can you see that? So just connect. So this is basically what we have for the back. So now I'm going to mark out my circumference measurements. So mark out my circumference measurements and then the same 1 inch seam allowance. So at this back, remember that there's going to be a zip dart. Do you understand? So when the same thing you measure at the bust point line is what you should measure all the way down, and then now impute your actual measurement and see the disparity. So for example, my disparity was 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to be marking that at the zip area. Do you understand? So because the back is not straight, that's why we are imputing it that there. So you can see me trying to connect that back to my center back line. Can you see that? So I've created a dart at that point, and then I am just going to also connect that back to the natural waistline. Can you see? So I've created a dart at that point. Do you understand that, guys? So that is a dart I've created at that point. So if you try to remeasure, you will see that you have that's 3.5 inches. So you move it to the last leg of the dart. Can you see? I measure your 8.5 and then 1 inch. Do you understand that? So same thing for the waist. From the center back to the first leg is 4 inches. Move it to the third leg and then mark your original measurements here. So you can now draw out your side seam line. Can you see that, guys? So that way we have created a dart at a zip dart for the back, seeing as the back is not straight, the back is curved. So we're going to go ahead and connect from there to the side seam to create our arm side or be our armhole, whatever your arm side, that's really what it is. So also we are going to be dropping the back because the back cannot be this high, it's a tube obviously. So just from that side seam, that armhole, just connect it, use a straight line to connect it back to the center back line. Can you see that? Connect that back to the center back line. So that is actually where our tube at the back will start from. Do you understand? So guys, on the front pattern, remember to draw your shoulder slants. I do remember to draw the shoulder slants. So just straighten out this line so that you don't have a dark, or you don't have a bulge at that point. So guys, we're gonna have to, I'm just labeling, all the vertical lines. Do you understand? Where the tube will start from, the underbust and the bust point. Do you understand? Just better to label your pattern like that. So now we're going to go ahead and create the neckline. So remember how the picture is, guys. For the neckline width, I'll be using 3 inches. Yeah, 3 inches. Can you see that? 3 inches. And then the depth, I'll also be using 3 inches. Do you get? Because it's a crew, sort of like a crew neckline. So for the back too, I'll be using the same 3 inches. However, for the depth of the back, I would have just connected this back to the center back. Do you understand? Assuming I just don't want the yoke area to have a zip. Yoke area of the back to have a zip. Do you understand? I can just connect that back to the center back. Do you understand? So, but in this case, I'm deciding to use, I think, about 4 inches. So at the back is 3 by 4 inches. Do you understand? So 3 inches the width and then 4 inches the depth. So please guys, remember to draw out your shoulder slant. Or shoulder slant is 3/4 of an inch. I do remember to draw it out on this pattern. So remember to draw your shoulder slant on this pattern. So I think this is 8.5 inches. So all of these places now that you have seen, that whole place is the yoke area for the back. Can you see that, guys? So it's the yoke area for the back. So draw out your shoulder slants and then draw out your arm side. Just draw out your arm side very well for the back. So now, then is arm side also for the front, and then that whole area also is the yoke area. So now, remember what the front looks like. Look at how the neckline of the front. So essentially, what they did is that you create that space which is 1 inch from the center front. Do you understand? And then also the depth is also 1 inch. Do you understand? So essentially what they did is, after creating this neckline, they piped it with the black velvet. Do you understand? So this is what it looks like. From the center front, mark 1 inch and then drop it by 1 inch, and then just curve it back to that bust span line. The bust span line. Do you understand? So this is for the first picture. I'm going to be doing the illustration of the second picture still on this same pattern. So this is 7.5 inches. That's my yoke depth. I hope it's not too much. If I feel like it's too much, I might reduce it, but I think that's how it is in the picture. So now for my back, I can leave it this way for that side, and all of these are dark, and then all of this also are dark. Do you understand that, guys? So guys, at this point, if you have not subscribed, ensure that you pause right now and hit the subscribe button. And if you are finding this video helpful, like, you should give this video, like, if it was possible to give it triple like Steph, I think you actually should, because this video is very, very explanatory. So please ensure that you give this video a like, and if you have any questions, please ensure that you drop your questions in the comment section. So now I'm going ahead to draw the neckline of the second one. So it's the same 3 by 3 inches for the front, and then from that 3 inches mark 1.5 inches. Do you understand? Then after the 1.5 inches mark another 2 inches. Do you understand? So this is for a shoulder width of 8 inches. So at the end of the day now, what we have on that side is 1.5 inches too. Can you see that? So now also go ahead and drop the length of this triangle that I've done is about 4 inches. Sorry, it's about 3 inches. So create that a triangle that is about 4 inches long. Do you understand? So that's basically what it is. So excuse all of these things that we drew for the first neckline. So for the back too, you're going to go ahead and do the same thing. From your 3 inches mark 1.5 inches, then 2 inches, and then ensure that you have 1.5 inches at the end. Do you understand that, guys? Very easy to understand. So watch me do it again. From that 3 inches mark 1.5 inches, then mark 2 inches. Do you understand? And then you have 1.5 inches. Then also drop your triangle, draw the length of your triangle, which will be about 3 inches, guys. Can you see that? It's about 3 inches. Do you get? So you draw a straight line 3 inches, and then draw another diagonal line to connect that 2 inches line that you marked. Do you get? So very, very easy. That's how the neckline is going to be. So if you are working with tulle, you don't need to line or turn that triangle or stress about it. But if you're working with another fabric, then you have to find a way to turn it neatly and iron. So now I'm going ahead to draw my skirt pattern. So remember that my half length stopped at 18 inches. So now my skirt pattern is going to start at that 18 inches. So 18 inches, client's navel, shoulder to navel is 21 inches. So I'm marking 18 inches, 21 inches. Do you understand? The hip line is 7 inches away from the navel, which is 28 inches, guys. Pay attention. The half length is 42 inches. So I'm also going to mark out that half length. Sorry, knee length, which I call it half length, but most people call it half length, but it's also your knee length, so that you don't get confused. So client's full length is 60 inches, and I'm going to be using 62.5 inches for the length of the dress, because she's going to be wearing heels with it, and I don't want it to jump. So I'm marking the same thing. So I just have a straight line. So I have straight line. So you can see the 42 inches and then the 62.5 inches, which is the full length of my tape roll. I'm still going to mark that 62.5 inches, guys. So 62.5 inches. So can you see that? If you have not subscribed at this point, please ensure that you pause right now and hit the subscribe button, guys. This is so important. And if you haven't liked this video, like, guys, how now? It won't cost you anything. So please just pause and hit the like button. Thank you very, very much. I would appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going ahead to impute my circumference measurements. This is my waist, like you can see me imputing. I don't put that on my skirts unless for very shapy clients, so I don't impute that. So I'm marking my natural waist, my waist circumference divided by 4, and then including 1 inch. Can you see that? For seam allowance, my seam allowance is 1 inch, and then my zip area, I use 2 inches for my zip allowance. Do you understand that, guys? So I've marked my hip measurement. So my hip measurements and your hip circumference divided by 4 measurements minus 1.5 inches from that, and mark that on your knee length. Also, whatever you mark on your knee length is what you should mark on your hemline. Do you understand that, guys? So for example, if your hip measurement was hip circumference divided by 4 was 11, so on your knee length you'll be marking 9.5 inches, guys. Do you understand? You've subtracted 1.5 inches from that. So I hope you found this video really helpful and really insightful. Go ahead and connect all of your points. If you have, please ensure that you give this video a like, and then if you're not subscribed at this point, ensure that you subscribe to this channel. I'll try to see if I can upload the video for the sewing. Do you understand? So you just understand how this works. But if you have any questions, please ensure that you drop it in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.